now. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know us, lecocqassociate, we're a boutique law firm and we provide legal, regulatory structuring, and compliance advisories, mainly for those in the banking, financial services, technology, and cryptocurrency industry. We have a presence in 4 jurisdictions: Geneva, Switzerland, that's where our head office is located, Malta, the Dubai International Financial Center, and the Abu Dhabi Global Market, two of which are financial free zones in the United Arab Emirates. We pride ourselves for the number of banks, asset managers, brokerages, and investment funds we have set up over the course of 15 years. Our webinar today will be about ways in which you, as a business owner, investor, ultra high net worth individual, or board member of a financial institution, can counteract to in an event where you fall victim to defamation, which in most cases affects your KYC profile and your day-to-day business activities. So on the floor, we have Moises Lares Barrios, our online reputation management associate, who's been in the industry for the last 12 years. He's helped fix, manage, and maintain online profiles of many ultra high net worth individuals, celebrities, and multinational companies all around the world. He'll be touching upon the technical aspects of online reputation management. And then we have Selene Vela, who is an associate for our Malta office, and she leads, manages all of our Malta clients and matters. And lastly, I, Nada Kurahashi, I'm the marketing and project manager for lecocqassociate, and I will be moderating this webinar. So we will be taking a different approach today for this presentation. Yes, we could go through the slides and give you information. However, what we want to do is to give you, the member of our audience, an information together with sort of legal and technical tools so you can better understand how to practically apply this information you're going to be getting today. So rather than having a monotonous presentation, we shall proceed in this matter. First, we will present to you a case study, something that you all can relate to. And then we will delve into the legal aspects. So we will touch upon the GDPR, so the data protection laws, privacy laws, such as laws related to, Selene will explain, right to be forgotten, to rectification, private life, etc. And then Moses will touch on the online reputation management technical aspects, such as SEO. He will speak about the Google algorithm and also where we're headed in the future. So the case today, we will be looking at a Danish female, a socialite, who's moving to Italy for work. Let's call her Anna for this case. Let's give her a little bit of a human touch. She recently got a job opportunity in Italy, and she has decided to move there. She has a friend who got very, very jealous of a work opportunity. She actually wanted the job, but Anna got it instead. Another info I wanted to give to you guys is that 12 years ago, Anna was in a relationship with a man who is closely associated with the Italian mafia. 12 years ago, Anna also got convicted of moving laundered money from one country to another. So she has a past. Recently, this ex-boyfriend, Italian man of hers, has been convicted for money laundering in Italy, where Anna has just recently moved to. And it's all over the news. It's on newspapers, it's on online websites, it's just everywhere. And that friend of Anna's took this opportunity to write posts, negative articles about Anna, bringing up her past to the world with obviously a goal to ruin her reputation out of jealousy. Now, the press saw these articles and has decided to write information about Anna, tying her recent move to Italy to this man. So as a consequence, she is being refused the opening of a bank account in Italy. Her employer decided to revoke her employment. When you Google Anna's first full name, it's just negative articles, nothing positive. And her life and reputation is negatively impacted, and she just cannot get on with her day-to-day life. So Anna came to Lecoq Associate for some help, some advice, and I'm going to leave the floor to Selene and Moses on this. How can Anna serve? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you. Okay, first things first, before onboarding any client on Lecoq Associate for online reputation management, we have to run a KYC screening. And also we have to do a client risk assessment. We will use this client risk assessment later to organize a strategy from a technical point of view. We need to understand what is the online content that is causing her damage, causing our clients damage. And also we need to know what are the relevant jurisdictions she wants to improve her reputation. After knowing that, we need to understand with the legal team what are the applicable laws within that jurisdiction, and then we can create a comprehensive, tailor-made strategy. So we will meet with the legal team now to understand what kind of applicable laws we can use for this case.
Okay, so from my end, I will be taking you to a journey through the different laws and the different legal perspective that we actually take when we are tackling online reputation management cases. We will go from data protection to privacy. We will brush upon as well as civil and criminal. So that is where we will be taking you. So one of the most important laws which was enacted in recent years is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. Yes.
So defamation, libel, and slander, is that part of the GDPR?
Okay, so we do get this question a lot from our clients. One of the main questions they ask us is why GDPR? Because GDPR is the protection of your own data. However, what we must note here is that from the GDPR, there are several articles, as you can see on your screens. From the GDPR, we have these articles which grant each and every human being the right, to whom the GDPR is applicable to, the right to be able to fight against these articles, such as, let's go straight into it. We have Article 16, which is the right of rectification. So we're saying here that in the case of Anna, she is having these articles published about her which are true. In the case of right of rectification, let's modify it a bit and let's say that these articles are untrue. That these articles are untrue by nature, they are false, and that they show incorrect information. In that case, from a GDPR perspective, we have the right, as an individual, has the right to go directly to the source and be like, hey, you should not be publishing this information. You should rectify it because this information is incorrect and untrue. On the other hand, if we had to look at Anna's case particularly, one of the strongest articles we have emerging from the GDPR is the right to be forgotten. I'm pretty sure that at least one person from the members of our audience has heard about this right to be forgotten. When we look at this right to be forgotten as a baseline, the baseline is that each and every person has the right to be forgotten and has the right not to keep on being haunted by things that they have done in their past. However, whenever we're looking at the right to be forgotten, there are certain aspects which we also have to give attention to. So let's say in this case of Anna, which I will be bringing Anna along the way in order to give like a more practical example. So in the case of Anna, she has someone who keeps bringing up her past. We can't keep on being haunted by something that we have done 10 years prior. There are certain jurisdictions and certain countries which actually protect against these rehabilitation, that okay, you have done your time, you have been through, you have done this, you have done your sentence, but you can't keep on being persecuted for something that you have done ages ago, right?
Okay. Okay. So let's say, so I guess Article 17 can be applied to Anna because she was convicted 12 years ago. But what if Anna was convicted 3 years ago? Would Article 17 be applicable?
Okay, so as most of us lawyers like to say, it is not as simple as a straight yes and no answer. There are several things that we actually look at whenever we're looking at this right to be forgotten, because when we're lodging an application, a complaint to a certain extent, using the right to be forgotten, there are several things that there are looked at whenever we're trying to see if this is applicable or not, such as whether the accuracy of the information, such as whether the information is inadequate, whether it's still relevant, whether it's excessive, whether it's a matter of public interest, let's say. And we also have to sort of tackle in which jurisdiction we're applying it here. We're saying that this article emerges from the GDPR, which automatically makes it more applicable to the European Union. However, and Moises will be delving more into this aspect, is Google's right to be forgotten. So Google has also applied this right to be forgotten, and certain complaints can be lodged directly to Google. So it depends, because it is not a yes or no answer, because we would have to see whether this is a matter of public interest, whether this article which is being published is still accurate and still relevant to these days. In the case of Anna, from the brief description, Nada, that you have provided us with, I can tell you that in her case, yes, the right to be forgotten is applicable to her. Why? Several years have passed. This information is not relevant anymore. She is not, to a certain extent, a danger to the public. The public has no interest in resurfacing old news from 10 years ago, from 7 years ago. This is not going to add on to the public interest. This is not new news, you know. So yes. So in this case, yes, it will be applicable. However, we always look at the details of the case, because you can't be like, oh, okay, so after 5 years, it must be applicable to me. So that is why the Article 17, the right to be forgotten, is a grass which should be carefully tread.
Okay.
So there are other laws which emerge from the GDPR, which is also like Article 18, the right of restriction. The right of restriction basically follows the right of rectification, where instead of asking the source to directly amend or to directly rectify the mistake or the information which was untrue before, is the right of restriction, where you say, this is my data, my name is Selene Vella, and that is my data, and that belongs to me, and I restrict you from being the controller of the data. So in certain cases, we would actually compel the source in order to anonymize the names of certain articles. But our baseline of defense would always be, take this article down. However, there are other things we actually resort to, because in some cases, there are also, we cannot forget the freedom of expression. This is a very fine line. We have the freedom of expression, which we will delve into later on this presentation, as well as the right of the individual. So you have individual versus the freedom of expression. So we will go into it later. Last but not least, we also have the right to object, which gives the individual the right to object for someone processing their data, which goes in line as well with Articles 16 and 18.
Okay. So, all right. So we just looked at the GDPR, which is the data protection aspect. You did briefly mention data privacy. Could you give us more details on that?
Okay, so we did a bit of plain words here, like with know your laws. We hear a lot of KYC, but do we really know our own laws? So in general, as human beings, there are several laws out there, amongst which are these three, which you can actually see on your screens, which grant us the right to have a private life. If we look at the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, for example, which is applicable to all individuals, irrespective of their race, gender. So if you are a human of this planet Earth, then these Universal Declaration of Human Rights are directly applicable to you. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights brushes upon it's a bit vague to a certain extent. It does not go into detail. However, there are important laws which emerge from it, like such as that you are innocent until proven guilty for one, and that you should be given the right to defend yourself. Other laws which actually emerge from it is the freedom of expression, that each and every person has the right to hold an opinion. However, we must also know that this article grants the right to also seek, receive, impart information. So what we're saying here is that I have the right to express myself. I have the right to say my opinions and be quite open about them. However, at the same time, the public out there has a right to information. So I as an individual versus I as a member of the public. So that is something that we need to strike a balance on. Other rights, yes, Nada?
No, please, please, please.
Okay, thank you. There are other laws, there are other conventions like the European Convention on Human Rights, which is directly applicable to the members of the Council of the European Union, from which we also have, from which the respect to a private and family life is also heightened. So the convention here speaks very, very in detail about how each and every person has the right to a family life. However, for as long as that is not inconsistent and for as long as that is in line with the law, whenever there's obviously the law and jurisdiction versus reason being, we cannot have an individual who says or does something which is against the law and then claim, oh, excuse me, I had the right to private life. So for as long as you are in line with the law, then yes, you have the right to claim that, hey, I'm a member, I'm Maltese, for example, I for one, so this is directly applicable to me. So yes, I do have a right to my own private life.
Okay.
The Convention, as well as the Charter on Fundamental Human Rights, both of them delve into detail as to what freedom of expression is. We will go into that detail a bit later on, but both of them also grant this right of you have the freedom of expression. However, you still cannot say whatever you want as you please, hurting those around you or hurting certain individuals. Okay. With the difference that the fundamental rights of the EU goes as well into detail and adds onto it the right to have the data protection, the right to protect your own data.
Okay, so it sounds to me data protection and data privacy go hand in hand. They are very closely, well, similar. I don't come from a legal background, Selene. You need to explain to me what the difference are.
So we get this question a lot. Data protection, privacy, like they're often mixed. In order to make things a bit more simple, we have prepared this example for you, members of our audience. So let's say Nada, you are being asked to take a mandatory blood sample for drug testing to see whether you have been using drugs, so that we actually analyze the data of those blood results. So here we have a bit of a twofold. So the fact that someone has come up to you and said it is mandatory for you to take a blood sample, that is an invasion of your own privacy. You have a right to private life and you have a right to do whatever you want in your private life. However, as we were saying, it also always ties down with the jurisdiction and with the laws of the country. For as long as you are not against the law of any country, then yes, you do have a right to your own private life. On the other hand, we see, so when we have the data resulting from that blood test, we have an invasion of data protection. It's a breach of data protection because the data that resulted from your blood test is yours. It is yours because it's something that is personal, that is your own thing. So yes, so we have, it's a bit of a twofold. You have mandatory blood sample. If it's mandatory, then someone is invading your privacy, and if someone is processing that data, then that is a breach of data protection.
Okay. So in essence, data protection laws protect me, my name, date of birth, address, passport number, like any sort of information itself about me. And data privacy law is more for my wishes as a human being of keeping my life private per se, saying that, if I don't want to share that I ate on the top of the Burj Khalifa, that information does not need to go out. Okay. Then you briefly touched upon the freedom. An individual has a freedom to a private life. Please elaborate on the freedom of expression, because yes, we can say, for example, let's say Anna's case, 12 years ago, she helped her horrible boyfriend move money from one country to another. Say I knew her personally. Don't, although she has her sort of freedom to a private life, don't I have the freedom to then express it openly? I mean, she is committing a crime.
Yeah. So when it comes to freedom of expression, we have to analyze of how actually free we are. So yes, it's true that you have a right to express your own opinion, you have a right to disagree, you have a right to not agree. However, freedom of expression can have both a positive as well as a negative limit to both privacy and data protection. So the limits here are, so okay, how can it be a positive? So as an individual can say, um, yes, I have a right of freedom of expression, but on the positive end, for the individual who's trying to protect himself, so let's say Anna, Anna can also say, yes, you do have a right to express yourself freely. However, you can't use that as an excuse to intrude into my private life. Because even though you have a right to express yourself freely, I have a right to my own private life. So why are you intruding into my private life? On the other hand, it might have also a negative effect on Anna in this case, who she's having these hateful blog posts written about her by this friend who's a bit jealous of her, let's say. It can have a negative effect because sometimes, like, it can be its own demise, right? It can be seen as a negative effect because it can actually allow the intrusion into your own private life, because one can say, hey, this is a matter of public interest. People should be actually be weary of this Anna, so that they don't fall into the trap of I don't know, let's say doing business with someone who has been previously convicted. So as we are saying, like, as I said before, it's not always a yes and no clear cut answer. We always have to determine and delve into the matter of, is it actually a matter of public interest that the press have a right to actually. So we're shifting a bit from these blog posts, which are a very, very personal opinion, to the press then, because that is our main issue here, where we actually look at these this newspaper, that they have the right to publish this article, they have the right to put up an article on the internet which is tarnishing someone's reputation. So there are a lot of things that we actually consider when it comes to the public interest, because the interest, as we have previously said, the public has a right of information. You have a right to know what is going on, and at the same time you have the right of press. So we're saying here that we have freedom of expression, we have the right to our private life, the right to our data protection. However, now we're introducing another element which plays a big and important role, which is the right of press. The right of press giving newspapers, giving like online websites to publish and to publish certain articles which are going to give the public out there the right to understand, the right to know what is going on. And in analyzing, so what we look at is mostly the evaluation of the freedom of the press. Is it actually a matter of public interest? If we had to speak about Anna, is it a matter of public interest? If you have to ask me personally, I don't think so, because she has done whatever she has done way back. So the public has no right to bring up her past. The degree of notoriety of the person affected. So what we look at as well is, let's say, someone who's super famous and who has a big influence on the people around, and can possibly cause a trend to go around, and others and members of the public could do the same thing just because this famous person is doing so. So we also look at the degree of the notoriety. Like, if I do something versus someone very, very important whom everyone knows about does something, it gives in and it weighs in a different kind of weight to it. We also look at the subject of the news report, the prior conduct of the person concerned, because it does actually play an important role here as well. The veracity of the content, which is this information actually true? Is this information that they're publishing true, or is it false information? Because that would help us tackle it from different angles. The form and the consequence of the publication and the circumstances. So when we're actually faced with a client, when we have a new client who has these articles published about him or her, what we actually look at are all these matters in order to be able to fight this, in order to be able to address the accurate, the most correct source in the right manner.
Okay. So if this friend of Anna's posted articles or news about her 11 years ago, I guess it fits in within the, it is of the interest of the public. The public needs to know because she is a freshly convicted criminal. However, it's been 12 years. She's been leading a great life. She's a good, different, changed person now. It's irrelevant and it should not be brought up. Okay, so Selene, you gave us a detailed explanation on how we can legally protect our good name. But how can Anna protect her good name from a technical point of view?
Okay, thank you, Nada. To have a good name online, we have to improve her search engine optimization on Google, her SEO on Google.
Okay, so please explain to us in layman's terms what is SEO, and also you specifically mentioned Google. Why just Google? What about Yahoo, MSN?
Okay, that's a good question. Search engine optimization, SEO, stands for search engine optimization. This is a process of optimizing a website to increase its visibility on search engines such as Google. Why Google? I want to ask you a question, Nada. Whenever you have a question, whenever you are looking for something, you don't have to answer. Where do you go first?
I Google.
What do you do?
Google. Yeah.
You Google it, exactly. Like you, 90% of the population use Google as their main search engine. There are another search engines such as Baidu in China, Yandex in Russia, we have Bing, DuckDuckGo, etc., but that's not that relevant. Google has around 8.5 billion of queries per day. That's around 98,000 per second. That's a lot. That's why it's really important to be on Google. I want to ask you another question, Nada.
Yeah.
When you search something on Google, what result do you click first?
Well, for me, the most credible search results would be whatever's on the first page. I mean, I believe that that's the most relevant to whatever question I've asked.
Yes. Like you, 85% of Google users, they click within the first 5 results on the first page. 85% are clicking the first 5 results. So if you manage to control those 5 first results, that can guarantee you that the population won't go further. Only 5% of Google users goes to the second page. If you want to hide something, hide it on the second page of Google because no one is going there.
Okay, so Moses, I mean, I just want to say, like, so for Anna, for example, all she needs to do is give you a ring. You will do your SEO magic on Google, push her negative stuff to the second or the third page, and I guess it's all over for her. I mean, it sounds fairly simple.
Well, it's not that simple. Do you see this image down here, the Google search engine result pages?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I want to explain you something about the Google search engine result pages. Okay. The results appear, the results may vary based on location, based on the language, based on if you have cookies installed on your browser, if you are logged on your Google account, If there are any event, if the Google algorithm changes, we have changes almost every month. The trends, for example, we have the World Cup in a few months. Probably we will have most results talking about football or talking about the countries that qualify the World Cup rather than other results. Okay. In the next slide, I want to show you a difference between the search result of one query. I checked this query 2 months ago. It's Roblox. Roblox is a game within the Metaverse that 2 months ago had a reputational problem because BBC wrote an article about people that was gathering in this Metaverse for having sex parties. If you check right now in Google UK, in the UK, you will find this article of BBC talking about those sex parties in Roblox. And probably if you are a concerned parent, you won't buy that game for your children, right? Yeah. And in Google UAE, you don't have that result within the first 5 results. Why? Probably because BBC is an UK news outlet. It's more relevant in the UK than in the UAE. Probably people in the UAE, they are looking for different type of news. Probably Arabic is a relevant language as well, not as relevant, English is relevant in the UK, right? So that's why we need to understand in each case, what are the relevant jurisdictions. In the case of Anna, we need to know, for example, Italy will be a relevant jurisdiction. And if we have a misleading article in Google Italy, probably won't appear in Google UAE. Probably in the second page, because we have a big community of Italians here, but not in the first page, okay? So we have to understand what are the relevant jurisdictions to start working with a client.
Okay. So, I mean, a question just popped into my head, Moses, excuse me. I just need to understand. So why is it that 12 years ago, when Anna was actually convicted of a crime, let's just say that Anna was very secretive about what has happened to her. I mean, obviously, you don't want a reputation of being a convicted criminal. Other than her close friends and family members, no one knew of her conviction. 12 years later, someone just writes a blog about it. It gets posted on Google, and all of a sudden, every negative thing that she's done in her past, and also whatever that's been done by her ex-boyfriend today, is tying her, which is, you know, you Google her name and it's just negative articles. Why is that happening? Why is that happening today?
Okay, 4 things changed, 4 big things changed that modify Google algorithm. Mm-hmm. In 2000, I want to start talking about the Penguin. The Penguin talks about backlinks. And to give you this example for you to understand, I want to give you like a real life example. Imagine Google is the host of a party here in Dubai. He wants to host a party. It's the biggest party of the year, the biggest event in Dubai. However, Google, they don't know what people to invite. He wants to invite people that has a good network, people that can add to his company, to his private life, etc. The way Google gets people to that party, and let's say the party is the first page of Google, the first result page, it's by ranking factors. First, we have this penguin here, and this penguin talks about recommendations. This is the penguin algorithm of Google, and recommendations are backlinks. Backlinks are a link within a website that points to another. For example, if our site is ranking is placed at the website of Forbes, we will have a really good recommendation because Google will see, oh, Forbes is recommending this website. So this website might be relevant because I trust Forbes.
So,
right?
So in Anna's case, if that company would write a negative article about her, that would be a form of a backlink, which is a bad recommendation, which is a credible recommendation. That's how Google looks at this article. Is that true?
Exactly. What we have to do in Anna's case is to get more positive recommendations to the positive articles she already has posted, or create new articles about her philanthropy, life, etc., and give those recommendations to rank those articles first on the Google search. But recommendations and backlinks are not the only ranking factor. Then we have the panda here, the beautiful panda. And the panda algorithm talks about content, quality content. Imagine now that you are going to this party with the most beautiful dress you could ever find. And the moment you are in the party, you realize that any other girl in the party is using the same dress. How would you feel?
Not good. That's all I can say.
Not good. And you couldn't get attention of Google. You couldn't get the attention of the host because you are like any other person on it. You are dressing the same. Google Panda algorithm talks about content. If we are copy pasting the same content, we won't be relevant. We need to create original content to rank higher on the search engine. Before 2012, 2011, this wasn't like that. So we could see a lot of scam activities, spam, but Google changed it to have original and quality content. The more quality, not only original is important, original is good, but quality is more important. So it's not just relevant that your dress is different, it has to be nice. It has to be with a really good material to be relevant to the host.
So I can't just have a unique outfit that's different from everyone. I guess my outfit has to come from Dolce & Gabbana to even matter. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Let's say it that way.
Okay. And tell me more about this Google Plus. I mean, what's Google Plus? I don't even know what that is.
Google Plus is one of Google's biggest fails, but after Google Plus, Google could understand how social media works. And they did a really important change within their algorithm. Did you ever hear about Google Plus?
No.
Okay, you are too young probably. So Google Plus was a social network that was launched in 2013. Google wanted to compete against Facebook, who still is the king of social media, and they launched Google Plus. It was basically the same, but they have something different. Instead of like button, they have a +1 button. And whenever you were logged in on your Google account and doing search, you could see the search results and you could like them with this +1 button. This like was considered by Google as a ranking factor. However, Google Plus reached around 500,000 users worldwide, but no one was using it. They suddenly realized the only people using Google Plus were Google employees. Okay. So they turned down Google Plus and found out that everyone was using Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, etc., and they consider this like, tweets, retweets, shares, pings, linking likes, etc., as ranking factors, not as recommendations like the backlinks, not as strong recommendations such as the backlinks, but still relevant. And they collect social signals. And right now, for our ORM strategy, we might need several social signals to run this content higher. The last ranking factor I want to mention that is relevant in the last 12 years is the usage of smartphones. In 2010, when this content of Anna came to light, we were using an iPhone with 32 gigabytes maximum capacity, probably 3G.
Yeah.
And no one was using it a lot for browsing. Before 2015, sorry, 35% of the population was using smartphones for browsing on internet. However, 2 years later, this number increased to 50%. And the next year, Google realized that most people were using smartphones for navigating online than desktops. So what happened? Google did the biggest change in his algorithm. He created the mobile first index to send his bot to crawl first, to analyze first the mobile version of the website instead of the desktop version. So in Latin words, in this example of the party, let's say that you have your dress for the party, but it doesn't fit you. So you won't get Google's attention. What do you do, Nada, whenever you Google a result and the design with your cell phone doesn't fit the screen? What do you do?
I mean, I leave. I mean, most of the time I can't even click on the menu button to navigate through the web page. So I just leave. It's a bad website.
Exactly. So having a mobile optimized website is a really important factor for Google right now, and it's the most important of all. If you are a mobile optimized, Google won't even consider you to be on the first results.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie. 10 years ago, having a laptop or having a computer was very important to me. Now I realize that I hardly ever use my laptop. I mean, of course, unless I'm at work, right? I gotta work, but anything else, it's always on my smartphone. Okay, so to summarize everything, the dress needs to fit if you want to get attention. So your website needs to be mobile optimized. To be relevant for the first page, to show up on Google's first page, your social media has to be, let's say, popping, whether it be Facebook, Instagram. You need to be kind of like an influencer. And then also with regards to the Panda algorithm, I can't be wearing the same dress as everyone. So my content I post, it cannot be copy paste. I guess you will be penalized. And also with the Penguin algorithm, Anna should focus on getting her positive content out in credible websites such as Forbes or maybe the local newspaper. Okay, so these are things that Anna should consider when coming to fixing her online reputation. But as you can see, as you briefly explained to me, it's only been 10 years and so much has changed in the internet world. I mean, technologies is just evolving constantly, rapidly. Moses, where do you see us going in the future? There's a lot of new tech coming out.
Yes. One of the emerging technologies we're using right now are the search voice results. 33% of American users are using voice search to find information today, and 55% of American users are already using smart speakers. It is expected that this year the smart speakers will outnumber the usage of tablets. Do you know any smart speaker?
I mean, I see Siri standing next to me right now.
I have Alexa.
Yeah.
Great, good. I have Alexa too. So we have Siri, Amazon Alexa, Microsoft Cortana, and Google Assistant in the market competing right now for search voice results.
Let's talk
Another,
about this.
yeah,
Yeah. Tell me more about this metaverse. This is something I'm really, really interested in.
yeah, this is another emerging technology. It's happening right now. The metaverse is a virtual reality world where users can interact, game, and experience things. So, have you ever heard about this recently? The metaverse, everyone is going to metaverse. We have like a metaverse universities now.
Yeah. It's all over the news. It's trending.
It's trending, it's really trending. It's expected that in the next 5 to 7 years, 90% of video content we are seeing in YouTube, we are seeing in the metaverse, for example, will be synthetically created using the same technology as the deep fake technology. Have you ever heard about that?
No, can you please elaborate? I don't know what deepfakes are.
Do you have Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Do you use the face swap app for
Oh,
Instagram?
yeah. So is it something that I can just upload a picture of my face and it puts it on some random video so it looks like I'm that person in the video?
Yes.
Oh,
The face swap app is like a light version of a big fake technology. In the future, imagine this in 7 or 10 years. How will improve? How will that change, right? What consequences can that bring to people? If I copied your face and put it in myself and then I commit a crime within the metaverse. So we have to be protected. We have to start analyzing what will be the consequences of the deep fake technology. We cannot stop the development of that, but we can start protecting ourselves for that.
okay.
So identity fraud, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, as you just mentioned, deep fakes, it's coming up. It's definitely going to be part of our future online reputation management strategies. I can also see that there are already jurisdictions implementing this, putting it in their laws, criminalizing the use of negative deep fakes. And
Yes.
speaking of criminalizing things, Selene, Anna, for example, she has fallen victim into being slandered. Um, her case is defamation, textbook defamation. Her life is ruined. She lost her job, which means she lost money. Great future opportunity. Um, you know, if I was Hannah, I'd want to take that person to court. I mean, I'd want to convict them. No, I mean, can I take them to court?
Okay. So one of the, I'm going to take your example and tweak it a bit, because whenever we speak about defamation, we speak about fake news. We do not speak about, because defaming a person means that I am purposely and intentionally putting out there information which is not correct, which is not right, in order to tarnish your reputation. You know how you have, when you rise to fame, this is defame, when you take someone from their fame and you put them down. So whenever we're talking about defamation, so let's say in Anna's case that this person was publishing things about her and saying things which are incorrect, which are not right. Is it a criminal action? So for one, what we have to consider is whenever we're talking about criminal law, when we're discussing the possibility of taking an action on a criminal basis, is it a crime against humanity? So we would have to look in that case on the basis on each and every jurisdiction on whether that jurisdiction particularly considers things such as defamation or false accusation, libels, as being criminal. I know for one that, like in our case in Malta, for example, until a few years ago, defamation was actually considered as a criminal action. However, they have removed it because technically there's no harm against the it's not a crime against the humanity. If we had to look at it, again, I'm not excluding the possibility of having certain jurisdictions consider it as blasphemous, some consider it as obscene libel, for example. So yes, in certain jurisdictions, yes, it is considered as a criminal action. However, on the other hand, there are so many jurisdictions which do not consider or classify it as a criminal action.
Then what would it be?
So if it's not a criminal action, it would be automatically falling under civil law. And this is, as a recap, I would like to further clarify that if we're talking into a context where the client which has come to us would like to, like Anna in this case, would like to open an action in the courts of certain jurisdictions. From our end, our first steps would be to go directly to the source, or otherwise compelled through Google and try to take certain articles down. However, if our client, one of the main things we ask our clients always is, what does the client want? That is one of our main priorities, to understand what our client wants. If our client would like to open a criminal case and bring a case, an action, be it civil or criminal, we would obviously take the steps from there. So as a matter of fact, when we're considering online reputation management cases, it automatically, by default, falls under civil law, because civil law, it discusses the law of person, of things, and the relationship between all of them. One of the biggest laws that we actually use are the data protection, which we have actually discussed before, from which these important articles emerge. However, we also have other torts and remedies. Some of these torts, so again, we would have to look at the jurisdiction of each and every country where the client would like to open an action in, and we will actually see whether and how it is considered, because Nada, like different jurisdictions have different terminologies and different names for different things. That's the beauty of the law, as we would like to say. It's just it's so nice. It's somehow similar, yet it's so different. Like you would have in the UK, for example, it can be considered as emotional distress, from which you can claim damages. Damages being whenever you claim, hey, this has caused me distress, I should deserve a compensation for it. In India, for example, it can be considered as outrageousness. On the other hand, we have the USA, which is at the very top, at the very pinnacle of freedom of expression and opening and taking civil actions against one another, which can be considered as false light. Yeah. Where you demand that, like, let's say a defendant has made an implication which is misleading or has disclosed something to the public at your own prejudice. So this is sort of would be, depending obviously on what the client wants, that would be our sort of second resort, because our main aim, depending, and from most clients that we have had, the main aim here is to remove this information first. So that would be our main focus, rather than going for a civil case and taking years, which they're actually known for taking and resulting in being so costly at the end of the day.
Okay, so going directly to the source is more immediate. Okay, taking this as a civil matter would take years. Going directly to the source, how long do you think it would take? I mean, roughly.
Well, it depends. It depends because, as in from our end, this is not a clear-cut line. We do not have a pre-cut, like pro forma sort of thing, and we're like, yes, so this is going to take you 2 days or whatsoever. We take them on a case-by-case basis, but. Whereas if you had to ask me whether compelling the source to take down the article or whether enforcing the right to be forgotten through Google by lodging a complaint with Google, if you had to ask me which one is more efficient, obviously I would say going to the source directly and forcing your laws through lawyers, and rather than actually going through a court case, which could take years before you get actually a ruling from a judge, and perhaps it would open the doors for an appeal as well. So yes, if we're trying to discuss whichever one's more immediate, whichever one's more imminent, then we would obviously go for compelling the source and taking down the article.
So just brief us through the administrative. So I guess compelling them will be the administrative side of things.
Yes, and no, because we also have other actions. So let's say that we do not get to anywhere when it comes to the source. We could also go through various data protection authorities that ever since the introduction of the GDPR, we have seen this setting up of data protection authorities, at least within EU countries. And I know that other jurisdictions which are outside of the EU have been also following the footsteps of the GDPR and of its laws in order to set up these data protection authorities. Data protection authorities assist us a lot because whenever we lodge a complaint in front of them, they ask us, they're like, have you directly gone to the source first? And let's say that there's one particular source which hasn't responded to our queries, or they haven't taken down that article. We can be like, yes, and this is their breach. And depending on a case by case basis where we delve really deeply into the analysis, then yes, we could compel certain authorities, certain associations, for example, in order to assist us to take this from an administrative point of view rather than go directly to court.
Okay. So in summary, for Anna's case, from what I've heard, it's best to first take legal action in ways where you compel the source via maybe contacting the data protection administrative office, directly contacting the website source, pressing charges against the press if it was not correct. And if all of that fails, what you can do in tandem is work with someone like Moses to push negative links to the second, third, fourth, or fifth page of Google, and mainly focus efforts on Google because that's where most of us spend our time on the internet on. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work. And Moses, in terms of the ORM part, how long does one need to keep doing this?
Yes, that's the campaign.
Yeah.
Yes, usually the first results, we can see it minimum after 6 months.
Okay.
That's what Google's takes the time to recognize new backlinks, new references, and new, we can see also new changes in the algorithm. So we need to adapt the strategy to those updates. So minimum 6 months to a year.
Can I just say I come to you and I'm like, okay, 6 months and 1 year. Can I just completely throw that under the bus? After 1 year, I'll just be like, no, Moses, I don't need your help anymore.
Well, this is like watering a plant, okay? You just don't give water to a plant now and just leave it. Yeah. You have to monitor your reputation. People like Anna, they are socialites. They always have comments. They always have people that have some kind of, they want to bring back something from the past. So I wouldn't recommend to stop after 1 year. What I can recommend is after 1 year, your reputation is improved, then you can hire a monitoring service to maintain what is happening within your keywords on internet.
Okay. Thank you for that. Members of our audience, I hope you found this webinar very insightful. Apologies for the time. We've already hit the 1 hour mark, but if you have any questions, please send your queries to my email address there on the screen.